Here's a quick overview. We have managed to have average surplus of 5.3 million over the next 10 years, which is consistent with our special rate valuation application. We're meeting all our Office of Local Government benchmarks and our strategic financial objective. I want to talk about some of our budget assumptions and the certain risk associated with it. And then lastly, we'll follow up on how much we're spending on our capital expenditure in the next 10 years. Here is our long-term financial plan surplus profile. It seems really tall, right? It ranges from 4 million to 7.5 million. Our average is 5.3 million. Now you think that's quite a bit of surplus, but actually we are diverting them back to the community services. We are spending them on our infrastructure assets, and also we need to create a buffer for any future shocks. You have here the news on the US, and that might causing the US government's tariff policy, if it happens, that might causing a global downturn, and then it might causing a reducing our interest rate because of lower inflation. And then we need the buffer if our later any surplus being impacted. I will go through the risk a bit later. Our strategic financial objective is what the council committed to meet in terms of positive operating performance, our strong cash flow, meeting all our asset requirement, and also manage our debt levels. And finally, it's enhance and maintain our service levels. With our long-term financial plan, we have managed to meet all our office local government benchmarks. And as you can see, they are all green lights. We love that color. And that's why we're meeting all our strategic financial objectives. Here are some of budget assumptions and what is the risk associated with it. First is the rate pack. Our council rate is set by IPAD. We cannot control that. Also our interest revenue. It frustrated beyond our control because really depending on what the economy is going to be. If the US government decided to put on the tariff policy, and that might causing reducing our interest rate, the impact of that, if our interest rate going to drop by 1%, that is equivalent to our reduction in our surplus from 1.5 million to 2 million, and that depending on how much cash we got. And that is significant, and that also is a main reason why we need to keep a buffer in our operating results. If you're looking at expenditure, that is the top expenditure is our materials and contract. That is significantly influenced by inflation. We budget the inflation to be around 2.2 to 3%. In our long-term financial plan, we apply the 3% annual increase to our materials and contract. But what if the inflation is going to be higher than 3%? For example, in our long-term financial plan sensitivity analysis, if you have a look, if it increases more than 0.5%, that is equivalent to 1.1 million extra cost in our materials and contract. Another one that it might have increased cost that higher than what we can expect it will be the supplier. If they might increase the cost more than the inflation, and then we due to macroeconomy, then it might also impact on how much we spend on our capital expenditure. Finally is the specific cost for state government charges. So you mentioned about emergency service levy that very often increase higher than the inflation, and we don't know until May or June. And those are the ones that we want to talk about in terms of risk. And this is the final slide on the long-term financial plans, looking at how much we're spending on our capital expenditure for our assets. As you can see, we'll put our focus on renewals, which is aligned to our asset management strategy that Masood just presented. We'll spend 73% on our renewals, but we also are spending 27% on our new assets.